Hello guys, and welcome to the new episode. I would like to remind you that if you have any suggestions regarding the quality or improvements in the video, please let me know in the comments, and if you don't like the playback speed, you can adjust it from the video settings. The villain realized that his dad went through his PC and followed him. He starts shouting on his father, and said his father was embarrassing him in front of Zoe, and he has ruined everything. By looking at him, Daniel saw himself and realized his mistakes. The villain tells them how everyone rejected him, disrespected him, discriminated against him and judged him by his looks. Vasco replies that he doesn't understand all this, but a man should take responsibility for his actions, and he should not blame others. Vasco asked him has he ever tried to improve and change his situation. Daniel was amazed watching this. The antagonist screams at Vasco. He said Vasco has no idea how the people at the bottom are treated, and no matter how hard he tried, he won't be able to change anything, and it's a waste of time. Vasco thought for a bit, and replied that he was able to change his situation. Vasco's words shook Daniel to the core. The cops arrived at the situation and caught the villain red-handed. His father begged for forgiveness, but it was useless. Vasco asks Daniel is he okay and tells him that he did a great job protecting Zoe. Zoe grabs Daniel and bursts into tears. She calls him Piggy and asks whether he is injured. She was concerned. Meanwhile at the convenience store, Daniel placed a notice which says, "I went to the restroom." Daniel remembers it, and immediately returns back to the store. Daniel was thinking about what Vasco said last night about self-improvement. Zoe comes and greets Daniel. She had to quit streaming and gave all the money to Gangnam landlord's father. She asks the tall Daniel about his chubby friend and immediately she has second thoughts, and thinks why is she asking this from Daniel. Yui comes with her bruised face and everyone is wondering what happened. She approaches Daniel, who is confused and doesn't knows what he should say. Zack thinks she's still flirting, but the plot twist happens, and she gives a handkerchief to Zack. Zack is shocked and surprised at the same time. Yui thanks him for what he did for her yesterday and tells him that she broke up with Young. Zack panicked, because Mira was watching them, and tries to remind Yui that she has to keep all this a secret. Yui was returning from school and was thinking about Zack. She realizes that Zack likes Mira and she has no chance with him. Someone calls out her name. Gun was there, to discuss a business opportunity, and he tells her that she doesn't need to be scared. Duke was getting more and more views and his haters started to like him. I hope this happens to me as well. Zack and Mira were returning from school, and Zack tries to convince her that there is nothing going on between him and Yui. Mira gives him a cold reply, and said why does he even bothers to give an explanation, there's nothing between her and Zack. Young, who was still wearing those track pants, came and says that he has to wait a lot for Zack. Mira realized that Zack had fought again and decides to leave. Young brought his boys with him to beat Zack. They all started mocking Zack but the bald one went too far, and asked Zack, why did he send the girl, since he didn't want it to be embarrassed in front of her. All of them started laughing at Zack. They asked Zack to show his face, which he does, and they were frightened after seeing that. They realized that they made a mistake, but it was too late. Zack said that because of them Mira left, and now he doesn't need to hold back. He launched a flurry of punches, and knocked out every single one of them. The next day, at school Zack asks Namso to get limited edition Jordans, even though he was asking politely. Namso's perspective was different. He thought Zack was threatening and commanding him to get the shoes, or else he'll beat the shit out of him. Namso was searching for the shoes but couldn't find them, since all of them carried a big premium, because DG wore them. He had no options but to beg the sellers. One after the other he got many rejections. Some of them directly said no, some of them told him to get lost, but one of them was ready to sell them for $300. He decides that he should meet in person and do the deal. Last time he bought a camera and they gave him a brick, and it was Zack's money so he can't lose it. The seller wanted to talk in Messenger, instead of texting. Namso wonders whether he was trying to save the texting fee. He checks out the seller's profile and realized it was a cute girl. He gets too excited. They talked. Initially she was not ready to meet up, but later she agreed. Namso is excited and thanks Zack for this. The next day, he tells Zack that he doesn't need to come with him, and he can do the deal by himself. Zack thinks something's fishy, but lets it slide this time. Namso arrived at the location. He used inserts and shoulder pads to improve his appearance. He thinks he's a soldier heading to battlefield. He feels like he's Iron Man. He's confident and he thinks everyone's watching him. The girl arrives. He thinks she's attractive and wants to check the product. He asks her whether they should go to a cafe. Suddenly 2 guys bumped into him. They told him to act normal and go with them, and if he did not, they would beat him. Namsu realized that it was all a scam from the start. They brought him to an alley and took away all his money. One of them mocks him and asks whether he wants to go to a cafe. The girl told Namsu that he wasn't talking to her, and it was not her number, only her pic. The girl asks her boyfriend to not use her pic, and tells him that it's very annoying. The guy ignores her, and counted the money. He told Namsu that it could have been a lot easier. If he'd just transferred the money, they would have used their fake bank accounts. Namsu realized he was talking to this person on phone, and wonders what should he do now. After all, it was Zack's money. As they were leaving, Fat One threatened Namsu that they have his personal details, and if he tried to report this, they'll come for him. Namsu tells them to return the money, since it didn't belong to him, and he has to return it. He tries to scare them, and told them that this money belonged to a boxer, and if they didn't return it, this might cause trouble. The girl tells Namsu he couldn't track them as they were using fake numbers, and he should have left while he had the chance. Their leader said, "That's why you can't go easy on people," and tells him that he's a boxer as well. The next day at the school, Namsu arrives with bruises. Daniel and Zack are shocked watching this. He told Zack what happened. He was thinking that he has to pay the money back, and he'll get hit again. But Zack didn't hit him, rather he was concerned about his injuries. He told him that he should have gone with him. Namsu is touched hearing all this. Suddenly Yui comes and asks about the situation. Namsu told her what happened. She asked him whether he still has their contact details. He showed her the profile. Namsu told her it was a girl, but a bunch of guys showed up with her. This is not what he told Zack, but now Zack knows the complete truth. Yui tells them that they are going to use that phone number until they are reported. She found their number and told Zack he could pretend to be a buyer, and in this way he could meet in person. She also told Zack he must change his profile pic. If they think they're talking to a weakling, like Namsu, they will come. She took a pic of Jiho cause she thinks he's a weakling. Jiho's not sure what's happening, but he felt very uncomfortable. Zack contacted them and they replied they wanted to meet at John's station, and if Zack came they would give him a discount. Daniel asked Yui how did she knew about all this. She tells him that his ex was a scammer as well, and if Zack didn't help her, he would have still be there. Mira was listening all this. The scammers had a new target, but the target looked different in the picture, and they didn't expected a body like that, and friends too. One of the friend of the victim tells him that he might have been tricked. The other makes fun of him and says it was a waste to use hair wax to meet a pretty girl. The victim tells the scammers that they're bad guys and they messed with the wrong person. One of the scammer told them to hand over the money and leave. As they were mocking them, suddenly one of the scammers attacked them and knocked one of the victims. He told them he's a black belt in Taekwondo. Suddenly the fat one attacks the other victim and tells him he's a judo practitioner, and he's the strongest in his studio. He completely overpowered him. As they were ready for a fight, the leader of the scammers told them he's the strongest one there. In the next scene we can see the leader, seated over his victim, and counting the money. He said selling laptops is the best. He tells us that it's a good day, and he should grab some food or maybe a drink, and there's another customer coming today. The girl watches all this and cries for help.